It's me walking home from work again. It's time to fire up that memory. It's another trip down memory lane. Oh, I don't know how you can hear me with the wind. Hopefully it's okay. I'm going to talk about my experiences at working at the Doctor Who experience from 2010 to 2011 to 2012. No, it shut in 2011, didn't it? So it would have been 2010 to 2012. Should have edited that bit out, but I'm not going to. So the Doctor Who experience was a great job. It was one of those jobs you didn't mind doing 12 days on the trot, you know, and being a big fan of Doctor Who, you know, it was great. So you'd come into work sometimes and you think, oh, I'm tired, and you think, oh, I love this is cool. So one of the things we had to do and take in turns, which was absolutely brilliant, was we'd be called to the front office and they'd say, who wants to go and check the experience to see if everything works? So of course, you know, who's not going to want to do that? Going through to the futuristic museum, seeing the TARDIS land, boarding the TARDIS, piloting the TARDIS, landing on the Dalek spaceship, witnessing a war between the two different factions of Daleks, going through the forest of the Weeping Angels, doing it all yourself, doing the 25-minute roughly experience all by yourself. Absolutely brilliant. That was a job. Great. Sometimes there was overtime, and the overtime could be painting the plinths, what some of the props were on, getting the Daleks ready for a photo shoot along the Thames, which was some kind of anniversary of the Dalek invasion of Earth. Yes, so that was quite cool. You see that famous picture of all the Daleks going across one of the bridges in the Thames, and you know, I had a tiny part in that. I helped push the Daleks into position for the next day pickup and wrap them in a blanket. Yes, those Daleks all had a little protective blanket for them each, a little Dalek blanket. Where are we? I remember coming into the front kind of area where the office was, and I saw Mike Tucker coming out of the lift, and he had the head and neck of a Ironside Dalek. So that was cool. Great to get little moments like that. I did make a point of pressing every single screen used button that you see on the various TARDIS consoles, so I'm guilty of that. But you know, put a fan in the role of a brand ambassador, as we were known. Of course you're going to do things like that. You're going to press things, you're going to twiddle with things, but with respect. So much so that one of the guys there, a lovely man, his name began with J or G. It's one of those names. But anyway, he was lovely. He was what I called as a please and thank you man. He would always ask, he would say please and thank you, and I got to repair a few of the original props with him just basically saying to me, look, I trust you. Yeah, you know, repair them. Don't ask me, just repair them. So I got to repair the eye on one of the Paradigm Daleks. I don't know how, but it looked like someone had shoved a cream cake in there. I don't know how that happened, but it looked terrible. Got to repair part of the original 1980s TARDIS console, and a few other little things I got to repair, just things that were falling apart in the exhibition, original costumes, that kind of business. Of course, it was great. Mainly on the shift, you would be put into different areas, so maybe around David Tennant's console room, maybe around the aliens and monsters section. So it was great. You literally just had, you know, an hour or 2 hours in one area, so you know, you could just immerse yourself in those exhibition displays and original costumes and props. I remember one day we had a power cut, and the 80s TARDIS just looked glorious because it was still going up and down and all the lights of the roundels were on, but the rest of the room was in darkness, and it looked absolutely amazing. All the staff there were lovely. In fact, a lot of them I'm still friends with. So that was great. Made some good friends there, all with the all with the uniting factor that we all loved Doctor Who. They were filming some kind of documentary with Colin Baker, and I remember walking past and overhearing him say, "Shall I just stand outside my TARDIS and look depressed?" which I just thought was hilarious. No, he was actually standing, he wanted to stand outside David Tennant's inside, he wanted to stand outside the set of David Tennant's console room, and he said, should I just stand here looking really depressed? So that tickled me, Tom Baker came in with, I think it was copies of Elizabeth Sladen, Sarah Jane's book, which I think was probably written by her daughter or written by her. I don't know, I can't remember. But you could buy signed copies by Tom Baker there. I don't know if I got to see him or not. I don't think I did, but I definitely bought a signed copy. You had to, you were there. You know, you had to, it wasn't forced upon you, but you know, you were there, you had that privilege. We had in the spare, the kind of storeroom, we had some of the costumes and props that weren't on display anymore, so it was quite cool to see a 1984 Sea Devil with you know, a plastic bag over his head, bits of broken TARDIS from, you know, David Tennant's console room. We had a big red Paradigm Dalek from the Royal Albert Hall musical event. That was quite cool because it was built so that an actor could stand inside it and move it, and it was very, very lightweight. That was quite fun to play around with that in your lunch break. I joined when they were fixing the large TARDIS outside the exhibition that looked like it had crashed into the building. That was really cool. I've got many pictures. I've got a picture of it being installed, but I've also got quite a few pictures of it from behind, and of course behind it was just completely hollow with all the lights set up. But it was such an impressive piece to have this crash landed TARDIS on top of an exhibition. That was a really cool touch. It was a brilliant exhibition. They clearly put a lot of money into it, you know. Thanks to one of the other guys there who's a lovely man. He's going to know who he is by saying the word lovely man. I got to try on an original Dalek Trooper hat from 1984's Resurrection of the Daleks. Yeah, so that was cool. That was because there was original props from the show littered around the Futuristic Museum as well. So if you were, of course, lucky, you could spot them. It was great. I used to leave the crowd to themselves when they went into some areas, and I used to go and stand behind the big telescope from Tooth and Claw, the David Tennant episode, and it was great just to kind of, yeah, that was the place you stood, right next to that prop. Yeah, that was cool. What happened when the TARDIS landed, the doors would open automatically, but there was a time when the doors didn't work. So we, as staff members, the TARDIS landed, we had to go and open the TARDIS doors for everybody. Well, that was brilliant. I mean, that was a bit of a dream come true, wasn't it? Doctor Who fan, you're in front of a big crowd of people, the TARDIS lands, you're the one who's got the TARDIS key, you're the one that opens the door. Brilliant. We needed a torch in the Forest of Angels because it could be a bit frightening for some younger kids. So I always used to have a big long mag light, and a lot of people there used to think I was a security guard, and I know at least one person asked me if it was a truncheon. Of course, I can admit the tape measure might have come out a few times on some of the props on display, you know. I mean, it's got to be done. Big fan of Captain Jack Harkness, John Barrowman. I'm not going to say the tape measure didn't come out for some of the measurements on his coat. I'm not going to say that some of those measurements I later used and incorporated into my coat. And then eventually I ended up buying an original jacket that John Barrowman owned. So it mattered and it didn't matter. But on the whole, that's tall. On the whole, I think that's pretty much my memories of the Doctor Who experience. It was sad when it closed. It was a brilliant place to work. As I say, some great little moments. You'd walk past the office and out would come Mike Tucker with 2 parts of a Dalek, you know. Remember having a little play with a Silurian gun in the office. That was great. It was great. I mean, it was all respectfully done. Yes, very, very good. Very, very good days and some lovely people, and a great place to work, a brilliant place to work. I only wish I had some kind of management level there, because I'd love to do it again, but I would need to have a manager's role in order to keep myself going in this world, you know. So yes, I think I've depleted all my memories of working at the Doctor Who experience. Those are some of the most important ones. We had lots of laughs there, lots of in-jokes as well, obviously having to see the same old clips of Doctor Who you know, day in, day out, you know. And of course we did know the back door to the original 1980s TARDIS was open, so it would be rude not to sometimes go in the back of it. I mean, considering I went in the back of it when I was about 14 years old as a kid, so I think it was only right to visit it again in my late 30s or early 30s, however old I was. Yes, we had some great time there, and I think that's pretty much it. It's not bad. What have you listened to? Can't be 11 minutes surely. Oh well, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for bearing with me on another memory video. Look after yourselves.